Alright, so what I'm going to do is show you guys some holsters that I've gotten so far. 4 of them for the Shield 45. It is the non-safety version. I'm still kind of up in the air on the gun itself. It's turned out better than I had anticipated it would. As you might be aware, I was originally going to get a Glock 36, but this was barely over half the cost, and it was about 1/8 of an inch thinner and slightly shorter with the shorter magazine. The magazine that I have in it right now is the 7-round extended one, so that I can get a full grip on the gun. Now I can cram my fingers on to the entire gun with the short magazine, which I'm going to go grab quick. If I actually remember where it is. Okay, so long magazine, as you saw. It's essentially a full-size grip as far as the length is concerned, though I do find it's still a little bit short front to back, and the thinness, while it is really nice for carry, I find it a little bit on the thin side. It's a little bit flat, which is fine. You know, I mean, it works, but I gotta say, it does not make it the most comfortable gun to shoot for prolonged periods of time, and I usually have to spend a second or two adjusting my hand to grip it properly when I remove the gun from the holster. When I draw the gun and point it, you know, at whatever it is that I happen to want to shoot. So I'm still a little bit iffy about it, because it's not quite as ergonomic for me as I would like. Certainly not as well. Certainly not as ergonomic as the 36 is. But the 36, though, is really, it's not a huge gun, but it's really not significantly smaller than a Glock 19, Glock 23, 32. You know, all the 4-inch standard Glocks, which is why I ended up one of the reasons why I ended up going with this is because it is significantly easier for me to hide this, and unfortunately I still have a couple of days before I get my 23 because the state decided to fucking delay, or, well, I don't know, I'm gonna swear because it's my video and I just don't really care, but it's but unfortunately I might have to wait till potentially like Thursday or Friday to get the gun, but hopefully they'll call the shop tomorrow, because they delayed me on Friday night, which, I don't know. I did have them call the state at literally like 4 or 5 minutes before they were closed on Friday, so maybe they thought I was some enraged, jealous person that was going to go murder my girlfriend and her lover, you know, that were cheating on me or something dramatic like that. But unfortunately I ended up having to wait. But I don't know, it is what it is. I'll get it soon. So onto this. Like I said, I'm still a little bit iffy about it, but I can shoot it pretty well. It's difficult to shoot more than about 150 rounds out of this gun before I get a little bit tired of it. And it's also, like I said, it does take me a couple of seconds to get a proper grip to where I can hit what I'm aiming at repeatedly. I can draw this quickly and point with one hand and just point shoot and hit what would be center mass, you know, at close range, no problem. But to do it repeatedly, where I can draw and pump all 7 to 8 rounds out of the gun and keep them in a fairly small, you know, 2-3 inch circle at 10 yards, yeah, I have to get the proper grip. Otherwise, it just, especially once you start shooting it, because of the pretty significant recoil, if I don't have a proper grip on the gun, it is not very easy for me to make consistent hits with, which is another reason that I have come to sort of gravitate towards Glocks, is because their grip angle and the shape of everything between the finger grooves and the sort of like this. You can see how this is sort of just a rounded shape, which isn't bad, but the Glock would be rounded like this, and then there is sort of this flare, almost like a palm swell, that fills this part of your hand, and it keeps the gun pointed lower so that it's more in line with your, I don't know how to demonstrate that, but you know, I don't know, you guys know what I'm talking about. I like the ergonomics of that better because I can put my hand on the gun in the same place every time very quickly without having to readjust it in the way that I do with this. It's, if anything, it's probably just a training thing. I mean, I could probably get to the point with this where I don't really have to spend a significant amount of time, if any, readjusting my grip. I might just not have enough time behind the gun yet, which is another thing that I always sort of lean towards, is that as long as you actually shoot a lot with the gun that you're intending to you know, carry or use for home defense or whatever it is, if you shoot it enough, you should eventually get good with it. And I am somewhat of a slow learner, and I'm at 800 rounds now, roughly. I'd say like plus or minus maybe 20, 25. I just put another 75 through this yesterday, but so it's coming along. But I don't know. The gun's decent. It's accurate enough. I've had like one failure to chamber entirely, but so I don't know. It's a pretty good gun. But going on to the holsters. Oops. Going on to the holsters, which is why I made this video in the first place. Originally, I got this. This is a Galco Stow and Go, but it was for an M&P 9 or 40C, which, if it's a soft leather holster like this, I really don't particularly care what gun it's supposed to be made for, as long as it fits this, because they did not have one that would fit the Shield 45 specifically at the shop. So what I ended up doing was having the employee at the store grab the rental Shield 45 and allow me to try putting it into a couple of these holsters that they had, and this one fit quite nicely. It's a little bit loose now, mainly because of the, God, the lighting sucks. Mainly because of the the width. You can see the slight gap, which, you know, it's not, I don't know, it's not that bad. I mean, especially when it's in the waistband, it really doesn't matter at all, because your belt and all that is compressing it and holding it into the thing. So it's not a big deal, but I mean, it will, you know, slip out of this fairly easily without the tension of your belt. But I haven't had any issues with retention or anything like that. But this is, in all honesty, this is a pretty decent holster. I really, if I didn't want to experiment with, you know, various other holsters just to see, I don't know, see what else is out there and see if I can find something that works better, this would still get the job done. it's not very thick. Like, despite the fact that it's leather, it really doesn't add much to the gun. And I guess for this, there are 3 things that I still really like about this over the two, well, over the Kydex and the Boltaron holsters that I'll show you in a second. This is leather. This portion right here is leather, which means that when you turn it, I'll show you, you can see that it forms to the shape of my body when I'm wearing it. If I sit down, there is give. If I stand up, it will flatten out slightly, you know, like from my pants. It's soft, so it's, you know, depending on where you position it, it can be noticeably more comfortable than the other two in certain situations. This is mainly a point to note when you're sitting down, which, depending on what you're doing throughout the day, I guess that may or may not be a big deal. My main thing that I like with this is, like I said, it's a little bit more comfortable, but I'll show you what the gun looks like. Yeah, I'll show you what it looks like. So here I have just like a white t-shirt, just like a v-neck t-shirt that I would normally wear under one of my other collared shirts, and I left the front unbuttoned because I wanted to demonstrate the difference in concealability versus this and a collared, you know, button-down type shirt like this. Now this one is a little bit baggy on me. The chest size is a little bit bigger than I would normally wear, but I did not buy this specifically for the you know, the purpose of covering a gun. I just actually really enjoyed this shirt because it's paisley. It's kind of a muted paisley fabric, and it looks awesome, and I kind of look like a rock star, and yeah, so I decided to buy it anyway, regardless of the fact that it was a little bit big in the torso. My tailor can fix that, but anyway, so with this shirt, this is about as bad as it gets as a concealment garment, because it is white, which means that any little you know, wrinkle in the fabric does show up pretty noticeably. Now, as far as printing goes, I don't really worry about it too much unless it's just extremely obvious, you know, like where it's, you got a big, like, you know, something like this, or, you know, like this. I mean, I'm not gonna be okay with that, but little bulges here and there, it's really not a big deal to me, because I don't really think that most people are going to be aware of that, or, you know, looking for it at all. But here's what this looks like when it's on. This is the 7-round magazine, and you can see, not a big deal. I mean, that you can see what I was talking about, though, how even you can actually, in the lighting, there's a little bit of a dark spot right here, so I mean, if you're really looking for it, you can see a gun. But the only people I think that are going to be doing that are police officers, maybe criminals, but I don't really know. You know, maybe a former military guy, those kinds of people that are exposed to guns a lot, or other people that conceal carry, they might notice it, but I would literally bet my life that the average citizen is not gonna notice that you have that, because people aren't just scanning your waistline for gun bulges. I mean, that's just not, it's weird. I mean, I go to the county fair or something all day, and by the end of the day, I'm like, you know what, I don't think I actually looked, even in that general vicinity, at another dude, which is, no, I'm not, I'm just not checking around there. Like, it's just not something that I think about, and that's, me as somebody that actually thinks about guns a fair amount. Now, if you pull the shirt really tight, yeah, the butt prints, but it's really not that bad. I mean, like I said, and if you put the 6-round, what the hell did I do with that magazine? Oh, there. if you put the 6 round in, yes, this is loaded, by the way, and there is one in the chamber. I'm not gonna fucking shoot myself, so just deal with it. So now with the 6 rounder, it's even better. I mean, you lose about a 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch off the end of the gun, and now it's, I mean, there's nothing. You could carry this under a t-shirt like this, which is not an especially baggy shirt. It can't be, because it's, I don't, the purpose for these shirts for me is to keep sweat from, you know, accumulating all over the rest of my clothing, keeps me cool, and it would look goofy to have this, you know, bulky, bulgy shirt underneath of another shirt, because it just kind of messes up the whole aesthetic. But anyway, this is not a especially baggy shirt. It is pretty close to my actual body, and even then, like I said, white t-shirt, hard to conceal with, and this thing just disappears. It's, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit here, but again, moving around, walking around, nobody's looking there. That could be a wrinkle because my shirt got, like, you know, caught. Like, it's insignificant. Now, you know, sitting down, again, that soft holster, it's nice. It's the barrel of this gun is just short enough where it's not poking into my leg, it's not smashing my nuts, it's not, it's really, it's not uncomfortable for me at all. It does kind of take a lot to bother me, though. I'm pretty, I don't know. It would take a significant amount of weight or something really poking into me for me to be, like, annoyed by it. Otherwise, I just kind of adjust to things like that pretty easily. Maybe I'm just goofy. I don't know. Well, I'm definitely goofy, but anyway. So that is the Stow and Go, and as you can see, if I leave this shirt, you know, this I'm just demonstrating for, like, the worst possible, or what, you know, my scenario of, like, what would be the least concealable thing. Now, if I have a shirt like this, nobody, I mean, there's nothing there as far as anyone is concerned. Even somebody that was looking for one would have to look really hard to find that. And if I need it, it is right here. I mean, it's, you see what I did there? I pulled it and then I adjusted it. Man, I either got to work on my draw a lot more than I have been, or I may end up just getting a different gun and just keeping this as, like, a, you know, a range toy for you know, messing around, shooting, just because it's fun to shoot 45 sometimes. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to keep working on that. But this is a pretty decent holster for 30 bucks. It's not bad at all. It's nice, really. And the other point that I like about this is this clip. See how it's these two rolled over parts, and then they have these little recesses in the leather for that to actually sink into, so that it's tucked in there. Two nice things about that. One, that means that once this goes over your belt, it is not going to come off. I mean, it's literally hooked onto the belt. I could pull on this, and I am pulling on this really hard, and it's not going to go anywhere. And that's especially nice because, like I said, the retention for this holster is not especially you know, strong. I mean, so in combination with this really tight clip and the soft retention, or you know, light retention, it's not coming out. You're not going to pull the holster out with the gun with this particular holster that I have. Which is why, if I am carrying this gun in sweatpants, I usually, well, or I guess I haven't really worn sweatpants, but like basketball shorts I usually wear, like, around the house, or if I just don't, you know, going to the store at, like, fucking 10 o'clock at night, or something like that. It's not, you know, I'm not going to, like, get jeans and my gun belt on, and mess around with all that. I will just clip this to it because I know that this holster digs into the pants pretty well because of the clip design. I can actually squeeze this. Usually I will squeeze it around the seam of the shorts and really, you know, kind of smash it on there, and it does not come out because with the retention being so loose, it's not. I don't really worry about this coming out with the gun. And yeah, that's kind of it for this one. So here's that. On to the next one. The one that I got after that was, I think, this one here, which is from a company called CYA Supply Co. They have the classic badass no step on sneak thing, you know, because you can't have a holster without some kind of a "don't tread on me" reference. You know, I mean, it just makes it like way more lethal. It's kind of like when you paint your brake calipers red. You know, me and my friends always used to joke around, "Oh, dude, you want to have your car go faster? You have to paint the brake calipers red." I mean, it's gonna go way faster, dude. Like 30 miles an hour faster, easy. That's like a 15 horsepower increase. Paint them red. Same thing here. It's obviously like significantly more badass because the CYA holster has the no step on sneak logo above it. But anyway, this is specifically, as you would imagine, specifically for the Shield 45, and I really like this holster a lot. That is a large part of why. So if you look at this, there is a relief cut in this for, I believe that is for the, it's actually for both. It's for the controls here, the takedown lever and the slide lock, which, you know, as Bill said, was virtually useless initially, but now I can actually actuate it, you know, with the sort of pad by the joint of my thumb. I can get enough leverage there to drop it, no problem. But anyway, so there is a relief cut there for the controls, and since there are no controls on the other side of the gun, obviously, it's very, very easy to take in and out of the holster. It drops in, and you pop it in there. And the only retention that I'm aware of, anyway, is this little... God, my lighting is just fucked up. See that? There's this little indentation there that they do by the trigger guard. That is where the retention comes from. And there's two... Oh, I gave away the surprise. There's two adjustment screws that have these rubber washers in there, big rubber washers. That was the one thing that I was unsure about with this. It looked very nice. I got it on Amazon. It was one of their, you know, Amazon's Choice recommendation type items. I like it. It's pretty nice. It's good. But the one thing I was hesitant about was this square edge, and the fact that there are two of these. A lot of the other holsters would have one retention screw, you know, maybe just slightly farther out from the trigger guard, and then it would be much more abbreviated, much more rounded right here, which, being that I usually carry this in appendix or fake gangster carry position, I call it fake gangster because, you know, real gangsters carry there, but they don't use holsters. So fake gangster because, you know, obviously, if I was a real gangster, I wouldn't even bother with a holster because I'm just too cool and too badass for that shit. But anyway, appendix area carry is it is a slight problem with the added width out front here and this corner. It does sort of get irritating sometimes. So what I ended up doing, and I just did this like I don't know, I think like, you know, maybe a week ago or less, like maybe midweek last week. I just kind of randomly decided to do it one night. I can't remember what day it was. is I took a file and some sandpaper and I rounded that edge off. And that is, you know, you look at the holster, that is the edge that is against my body, and I decided to try it there first. Oops. I decided to try it there first in order to sort of, shit, I gotta mess with this, in order to sort of, I guess, test out the modification that I wanted to make, and I knew that this is going to be the most significant change, is on the side that actually touches me most often. But I do still occasionally, when I sit down, I feel this every once in a while, you know, kind of depending on where exactly I put it. But this was a improvement for sure. It got rid of pretty much any of the discomfort, and I made the edge just as smooth as it was previously. I just used a coarse, I believe it was a Nicholson file, and 120 grit aluminum oxide sandpaper, and 400 grit silicon carbide wet dry from 3M. Both sandpapers are from 3M plug. So this is basically, it's nice. It's very, oh, here, I'll show you. So concealability with this, you know, the concealability is going to be roughly the same with these, although they do hold the gun at a slightly different angle. This one has, because of the way I have the clip, the butt is a little bit higher, and it gives me a little bit easier grab, but you can see how freaking fast that comes out. There's no belly button. There's no God. There's no drag or friction at all. Once you break past that retention by the trigger guard, it just jumps out of the holster because they've put that relief cut in there for the controls. So you grab it and it just pops right out. It's very nice. And same thing when you reholster it, it's in there. And this, I would say this is about like medium retention. I could set it harder. I had it looser, but I kind of like it like this because it's just, I know it's not going to come out unless I deliberately pull it. But it's not. It's also not. You know, particularly hard to pull out of it. If I was going to use this with basketball shorts, which I have in the past, I would loosen the screws and just make the retention less, because I would want to make sure that I take out the gun and not the gun and the holster, which is much easier to have happen when you don't have an actual belt. So I guess other than that, the clip seems quite nice. It's actually, I believe, you know, just looking at it, it is the exact same clip that is on the other holster I'm going to show you in a second. This is pretty decent. It's plastic. I don't know why people like plastic clips. I'm so, you know, new to this that I'm really just not sure why they don't have metal ones, but you know, maybe I'm just, you know, maybe I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know. But decent enough clip. Does have adjustable cant to the holster. It's either anywhere from neutral, which is obviously, obviously straight up and down, or a 15-degree FBI, you know, forward cant, which I have used for, you know, maybe the, I don't know, you know, 4 o'clock, something like that. But I do not like carrying guns in this area because my torso is so narrow that I can't. I mean, look at that. My hand is almost as wide. My hand is pretty much as wide as my actual body, so it's very hard for me to conceal guns behind my hip unless people are only seeing me from the front. But if I'm standing like this, the butt of the gun prints with a 15-degree cant, because it's just not. It's not a steep enough cant, which is why I was really considering a holster. I believe it's by DM Bullard, I think, out of Texas. He's got apparently a pretty decent product, and he has a holster that is an outside the waistband with a 25-degree cant, which would get the butt much more close to much closer to vertical, and I think that would do very nicely. Maybe even in the summer, certainly in the winter or fall or spring, I could, you know, easily hide that, and it would be much more comfortable. But I had been considering getting one of those, but because of the fact that I'm still not 100% certain I'm going to use this gun forever, I haven't bought any custom holsters yet. I just didn't want to drop the cash until I sort of figured out what I liked. But it's a decent holster. There's a little bit of a break-in period where this material, which is Boltaron, by the way, it is not Kydex, it is Boltaron, which it's higher temperature stability, where it's more resistant to high heat, and it's also more impact resistant. You know, it's not as brittle as Kydex, Kydex, not Kydex, but it's nice. I think. This is just my analysis, but I think that the reason they put these relief cuts in here is because this material isn't as hard as Kydex. It's not as abrasion resistant as Kydex. So they had to put this in here, otherwise you would be tearing up the holster with the gun, because this thing, when I got it, it's a very close mold to the gun, which I actually really like a lot. That's one of the things that I really like about this. And yes, the gun is loaded, and yes, it's pointed at me, and no, it's not gonna fucking fire, so just quit freaking out about it. It's very nicely done. The molding is nicely done, but I think they had to put this in here because it would wear the holster if they didn't. When I first got it, it was rubbing on the holster, and you could see there would be little particles like dust on parts of the gun, especially around the ejection port, a little bit up towards the muzzle, up here, and you know, a couple other random places. But it would end up with these little shavings on it and stuff. But now it's stopped doing that, and it didn't, you know, hurt anything functionality wise. It's just fine. But as you can see, plenty of front sight clearance, lots. I mean, I could probably get away with a sight that's, you know, another 1/8 inch taller. This is 0.18 inch front sight from Dawson Precision, in case anyone was curious. But yeah, it's fantastic. I like how it works. It's a very quick draw, friction free for the most part. Past the retention, it just pops out. Like I said, very nice. 37 bucks, I think, like 38 bucks and change on Amazon with like the free, you know, Prime shipping, because I have Amazon Prime. So that one is good. CYA, no step on snack, you know, good stuff. This is from Foxtrot Concealment. This was 20 bucks, and one of my online acquaintances, super nice guy, I think he would, you know, he knows who he is. He recommended Foxtrot for a, he said, I believe, you know, slight paraphrasing here, but I believe he told me for a you know, minimalist type setup for appendix, he